Welcome back. It is the Morning Sports Desk. I'm CJ Baumgartner. No Corey Tackman. He is on vacation. We are coming back from the hiatus with Zeke, who was also on the last Morning Sports Desk episode. Zeke, a lot has changed. We went on a brief hiatus. I was off for a while. The high school sports got really busy. But other than like the last 3 weeks where it's just been absolute hair on fire around here, how are you doing?
Great. Yeah, my hair's not on fire anymore. It's growing back in nicely as we kind of get a nice little break. State baseball is done, state trap is done, and now we just wait for captains practices and training camps for fall sports.
Yeah, it's not going to be long because all of a sudden the 4th of July is next week.
Sure is.
Things are going to get crazy once August rolls around, but for the time being, we're going to take advantage of that. Zeke, I know you did a lot of play-by-play for high school baseball, softball, and ultimately it ended with Corey getting to go down to Target Field. Lucky. Getting to call Parker's Prairie in the state championship game. Before we talk about Parker's Prairie, I just want you to fill me in. What were some of the big moments that you got to call while you were out doing games this high school playoff season? I know you had a great, speaking of Parker's Prairie, section championship game.
Yeah.
Any other moments, or is that one take the cake?
It was a very interesting week because they played BBE in the section semifinal, and it started at Monday, got through it. An inning, or maybe it was Tuesday, I don't remember. It feels like so long ago. Started on a Monday, got through an inning, got rained out in Clarissa, had to come back the next day to finish the game. It was a game that Parker's Prairie won. BBE dropped down to the consolation semis. They beat Long Prairie Gray Eagle, I think, to get back to the championship game, which was against Parker's Prairie. So I felt like I called like 50 games of Parker's Prairie in BBE. And then that section championship game, probably one of the best high school games I've ever called in my life. Just clutch hittings. I've never seen a high school team hit so many home runs that Parker's Prairie and BBE did in that one. I mean, it was unreal, and just clutch home runs. I mean, Dylan DeBilzen hitting a home run in the first inning to tie the game, hit the 3-run game tying home run in the bottom of the 7th, or the bottom of the 6th to get to extra innings, and just the walk-off hit. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching you like live tweet some of the stuff as it was coming in. I was like, oh my goodness. Like it was just amazing. So I'm jealous that you got to call that, because that would have been, that would have been really fun, especially in the section championship state tournament on the line. Both those teams met in the section championship game a year before, where BBE got the better of Parker's Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
So just a lot of storylines, really, really fun. To get to see that happen again. And then Parker's Prairie goes through and gets to the state championship game where they play Springfield. And Corey, again, was at the game on Friday. I was board hopping, so I was listening to the whole thing. First of all, like most things throughout the last month, rained out on Monday. They pushed the game to Friday. They then pushed the game 2 hours back and pushed the 3 and 4A games to Saturday, just in case, just kind of hedge a little bit. And then Parker's Prairie, they get one run on the board early, some back-to-back doubles, get them on the board, and they had the bases loaded, and they couldn't come up with a hit to hang at that crooked number. And I thought it at the time, and again, Parker's Prairie, good baseball team. It's not like I thought, oh, they lost the game, but it's just, man, they had a great opportunity to just really bust that game open, and before Springfield even gets to the plate, all of a sudden they're like, we got a lot of work to do. And, they're still up 1-0. It's not the end of the world, but Springfield quickly got that run back. Then you get to the 3rd inning, and then they hang up a 3 spot, and then they get an insurance run late to make it 5-1. Parker's Prairie, though, for their part, they did load the bases a couple different times in that game. They just couldn't get the big hit. And, it's what's more frustrating, getting completely shut down or getting, like in the position and just not coming through. Like, you just did everything you could, and sometimes you're just not able to get that one hit. And that really is what eluded Parker's Prairie, is they just never were able to get that one big hit and either get themselves back in the game or just push themselves out in front. But, I mean, those are two really, really good teams with Springfield and Parker's Prairie. Panthers were the 2 seed. Springfield was the 4 seed, I believe. So both of them kind of working their way through the bracket. Really, really fun state tournament this year for baseball. But ultimately, Parker's Prairie finishes second. So in the last 7 years, they have 2 second-place finishes and 1 state title. I don't think Coach Denny and company have too much to worry about, because they got a good baseball team. They've had a good program, and it looks like they're going to be in position to get back to the state tournament again next year.
Yeah, definitely a fun ride for Panthers fans to get to the state tournament. I was actually going to the game on Monday with Corey. I snuck in my credentials late on Sunday, got the approval on Monday morning. I'm like, all right, we're gonna go do this. Corey and I were driving down. We're having a good time. Left Wadena at 6:00 to get down there. About 8:30, we get the notification games are rained out, so we turned around and came home. So I was this close to the state tournament, but yeah, just a fun experience. And every Parker's game I went to, I mean the black and orange everywhere. I mean, it was ridiculous how many more Parker's fans there were, even at that section championship game than BBE Blue. Panthers fans, they were all in on this team.
Yeah, exactly. It's really fun with the small town stuff, and every small town around here is like this. But yeah, for Parker's Prairie specifically, it's fun to see a community rally together around a team. And in spring sports, whether it's track and fields, baseball, softball, it can be tough because school's out and it's during the afternoons, and it's not always advantageous for a lot of people to get out and support, but they were able to. They had to bring a fan bus twice, down the first time and then down the second time on Friday. And it's just really, really cool to see them come together and support them. And obviously Parker's Prairie's gotten a lot of support behind the baseball program, completely kind of did their setup at the baseball field. They put a grandstand behind home plate, new press box, which I really like, right above the grandstand, and just kind of reworking that field, batting cage, new concession stand. It really does look like a nice field out there. And it was nice before, but just that new coat of paint, new buildings, that new investment is always really fun to see. So there's our local angle. And now we're not going to talk about local sports for a very long time, Zeke. Now we move into the state sports portion of everything. And a lot happened with the Minnesota Twins, but I can recap for you this way, Zeke. They lost a lot of games, then they won a lot of games, and then they lost a lot of games, and then they won a lot of games. Did I do that right?
And now they're kind of on that precipice of losing a lot of games. I think they've dropped like 4 of their last 6, including 5-4 late one last night in Arizona. I looked at the standings this morning. Cleveland, where did Cleveland come from? 51 wins, best in the majors. Twins have 43 wins. They're 9 games out of first place in second place.
It's insane.
Unreal.
Somebody said since the Twins started 7-13, they've had like the 3rd best record in baseball or something like that, or like a top 5 record in baseball, 90+ win pace since they started 7-13, and they've lost ground in the standings.
Yeah, it's unreal. Yeah, Cleveland's won like 7 straight, and another long winning streak for the Guardians.
On the road.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
And it's not that they're doing it with good pitching either. Because they're hitting for power, and like David Fry and Stephen Kwan out of nowhere, all of a sudden hitting really, really well. J-Ram is just, doing what he does every single year, but like it's weird that it's because they're hitting. It's crazy. And every fiber of my being wants to be a biased Twins fan and say regression. But I think at this point, and I've probably been this way for like a month, is I'm not even thinking about the division anymore. It's getting a wild card spot.
All in the wild card, yeah.
Where you don't. But here's the thing for the Twins, your wild card is either going to be going to Cleveland, going to Seattle, or going to New York or Baltimore. New York.
Yeah.
Like whoever wins the AL East. And whoever
Fantastic.
AL East is probably going to get that first wild card, so they're going to get a home playoff matchup. So you could very well play the Yankees there as well. But get into the playoffs and see what happens. That's always been my philosophy. Things can change like they did in 2006. The Twins made up like 13 games, but I'll wait. They're in a playoff spot right now, though. They're in a good position, so I'm not going to complain too much. And reinforcements on the way. Chris Paddock got put on the 15-day injured list with a dead arm. Guy coming back from Tommy John, pitched a lot. It was kind of expected. He hadn't pitched great in his last couple outings. He kind of figured there was something about it. So the Twins are now primed to call up. According to Darren Wolfson of our own here at Hubbard at Channel 5, he said that David Festa, Twins' top pitching prospect, number 5 overall in the Twins system, he was going to start this afternoon in Iowa, scratched. What could that tell you, Zeke?
It tells me he's on a plane to Phoenix, is what it tells me.
It looks like he's on a plane to Phoenix. By the way, Chris Paddock's spot in the rotation would be tomorrow, I believe.
Okay.
So potentially he's making that big league debut tomorrow. Now they could flip flop a couple guys in the rotation because the Twins had an off day on Monday, but it looks like that they're going to call up their top pitching prospect in David Festa. Now, we were wondering about this. Now, it's probably not going to happen right away because the Twins have Ronnie Henriquez on the roster. So I guarantee you he's pitching tonight because the Twins are going to get him some innings and then ship him right back to St. Paul. He was called up for Chris Paddock. And the Twins, the thing I was hanging on was the fact that the Twins didn't have a 40-man roster spot to get in. But then before we recorded, we realized Jay Jackson got DFA'd over the weekend, which means that there is a 40-man roster spot available. So you don't have to cut anybody else. You can add David Festa to the 40-man roster. You can call him up to the big league roster. You'll have to send down Ronnie Henriquez probably after. They'll probably announce it like after the game tonight or like tomorrow morning that Festa's officially been called up. But I think basically off everything I've read, it seems like David Festa is going to be called up. And it's really, really cool because Festa is a guy. He was a 13th round draft pick a couple years ago out of Seton Hall. He's 6'6". He's like that Bailey Ober, tall, lanky, and the Twins basically use his big frame and long arms and release point to kind of make up some stuff. In college, he threw a fastball, average 92 miles an hour. Twins have gotten him to throw it to 95. He's got a slider that he's worked out pretty well, has a curve and a changeup. Starting pitching prospect gets called up. What are your expectations, Zeke, for a first major league outing if that's what happens?
From a fan standpoint, he's going to throw a perfect game in his first major league game. He's going to have a Hall of Fame career, sweet, against the defending NL champions, if anything. But the way the Twins have been as of late, I'm expecting 4 or 5 solid innings from Festa. Obviously, he's going to be excited first major league start on the road, that kind of stuff. But it all depends on what kind of confidence the Twins bats can give him, because the Twins bats have been pretty hit or miss as of late. And so if they can get him some run support early, I think he cruises to a quality start.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing is, like, can he basically just be what Simeon Woods Richardson is right now, which is who's pitching today for the Twins? Is can you just get to 5 innings, and by the time you leave the game, are we in a position to win? Like, are we, if we're losing, are we only down by a couple? Are we tied? Are we winning by a couple? Like, not that Simeon Woods Richardson hasn't pitched deep into games. He has a couple times. But it's just more of like, that's the baseline level of here's what the minimum is expected. Get through 4 to 5 innings and don't get shelled, basically. Yeah. And I think that's the thing for David Festa. He's got some swing and miss stuff. He has, I think, a 35% strikeout rate in AAA. He has got a walk rate of under 10%. The big thing with Festa in college was he walked guys a little bit. He's gotten that control better. You just got to find a way to keep locating and do all that kind of stuff. Whereas Ober, and we talked about the guys with the tall frame. Ober was a late round draft pick out of college. Twins kind of developed him. Ober is a fly ball pitcher. Festa, more a ground ball pitcher, at least this year specifically, and the last couple since he's been in AAA. So that'll also be interesting. And a ground ball pitcher in Arizona is a good thing. The ball likes to kind of carry there a little bit in that desert heat. So for that, I think it'll be good. I think Festa overall, I don't know how many starts this is going to last. Paddock's expecting to be back around the All-Star break. But I think if you're the Twins, it's, hey, get this guy a couple starts, kind of get his confidence up, and then send him back down to AAA and kind of have him like, all right, man, go build on that. Here's your little taste. Twins did it with Ed Julian last year. Like, you get a few starts, here you go. Go back down to AAA and, like, kind of leave with that. And that'll be what the Twins probably do in this situation. We were talking off air. I was writing a piece last night, basically titled, "Who's going to get called up first, Festa or Brooks Lee?" The Twins' number 2 overall prospect and middle infielder, guy who's knocking on the door in AAA as well. And I said Festa, probably just because with pitchers, guys get hurt. There's a lot easier opportunity to get called up. Willie Castro has been playing too well. You're not going to bench him. And I was right. So even though I can't prove that to anybody, I was right. I got to take the wins when I can get them.
Speaking of Willie Castro, I saw a stat on some MLB site yesterday where Willie Castro's WAR is higher than Luis Arias.
I saw that. Yeah.
Did you see that one too? Yeah. I was like, hey, Willie Castro, look at this guy go. Yeah, because he's playing out of his mind right now. So, I mean, you got middle infield depth, which is something I didn't think the Twins had this season. But Even with sending Eddie Julian down, you have some guys that are able to step up and make some big plays, have some big contribution. Miranda, one of those guys, we talked about it in our preview of if Jose Miranda can play well, he's going to stick around the big league club, and they opted to keep him up versus Eddie Julian. But like you said, Brooks Lee's just been playing lights out at AAA, so he'll be up sooner rather than later to get his first taste of major league experience too.
I think he had a home run last night for the Saints, but again, the thing about the independent ball or independent league or whatever it's called that the Saints play in AAA, it's like a bunch of teams in the Midwest. It's a very offensive heavy league. And if you've ever been to CHS Field, it's a very hitter friendly ballpark.
Yep.
Like it's just meant for hitters. Like it's just very advantageous. So not that you have to take the success with a grain of salt, but you do have to kind of balance it a little bit. But that being said, Brooks Lee has been mashing the ball, and it's better for him to be doing that than not.
Right.
It'll be fascinating to see how this plays out for the Twins. But yeah, Willie Castro's a guy I thought was going to be last year. I was like, yeah, I think I called it last year. He's having like a Rob Refsnyder moment where it's like a little flash in the pan guy, kind of depth, has a hot stretch, and he kind of becomes a little fan favorite. But no, he's become a really good player. And Detroit bailed on him too early because they called him up, I think at 22 years old in 2019. And he struggled because he was probably too young to be up in the major leagues. And he kind of went through his growing pains with the Tigers. By the time he got to the Twins, started off as like a low leverage, depth guy who slowly got more and more valuable to the Twins, mainly because he could hit, but also because he can play a bunch of different positions. He steals some bases. He can run on the base paths. Like everything about Willie Castro, he can bunt. He's just a little Swiss Army knife, which was the original appeal. But now that he's consistently hitting, I mean, he's an above average hitter right now who can play a bunch of different positions on the field. Just very, very advantageous for how Baldelli likes guys that can be multi-positional and kind of flexible.
Yeah, I saw a stat on his position flexibility. I'm going to try and look it up here real quick on his baseball reference page where he had like X amount of starts at so many different positions. Yeah, this year, 21 starts at third, 21 starts in left, 20 starts in center, 20 starts at shortstop, 16 at second base, then 2 appearances at pitcher too for Willie Castro this year, which
that's right.
Yeah. So he's got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different positions played over the first X amount of games this season, which is crazy.
Let him catch.
Let him catch. Yeah. Let him do everything. Let him do everything in one game. We haven't done that since Cesar Tovar. Let Willie Castro be the next Cesar Tovar.
Come on, let it happen. Who's the guy? Who's the guy for the Tigers that did that a couple of years ago? Was it Candelario?
Oh, was it Austin Romine or?
Oh
somebody,
yeah, I think that
somebody like that. Yeah.
Against the Twins, and everybody kind of rolled their eyes at it. This is like the last game of the season. I think
publicity stunt. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think Brad Osmus's last game as the manager of the Tigers, because then they fired him and hired Gardy. I think was how that train went.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something around there.
Andrew Romine did it. Yeah, Andrew Romine.
Okay, there you go. So let's talk a little here about the Twins yesterday. This is the only thing I have to say is that baseball can sometimes just be a weird game. I thought Joe Ryan, he got shelled the first time through the lineup, settled down, pitched very well. And again, we talk about, can you leave the game with your team still in a chance to win? And he left the game tied 4-4, pitching 6 innings, gave up 4 runs in the first 2, and then was great afterwards, settled down like the last 15 batters or something like that. He left the game in a good spot. Twins hitters, they had, I think, an expected batting average at yesterday's game of 300. The average exit velocity, which just, again, they're hitting, how hard are they hitting the ball? They're making good contact. The league average is 88.5. They were at 99.5 yesterday off the bat. And Jeffers' final out of the game probably tells you everything, where he hit it on the button right at the left fielder. If that's hit maybe 10 miles an hour softer, that's landing in front of the left fielder and Buxton's flying around and scoring from third. You really can't do much about that. That's just, baseball's a cruel game. And same thing with Jorge Alcala, who gave up the lead in the 7th. First 2 outs, bam, nothing. Then he threw 6 straight balls, which is, Jorge Alcala's a great I really like his makeup. I always want to believe in him. His one downfall is he sometimes just can get a little wild with the strike zone. And that led to a walk, a couple fluky bloop hits. There's a bloop hit, an infield single, and all of a sudden they take a 5-4 lead, and that's how you lose. Baseball's a cruel game. That's all I got to say about last night's game.
Yeah, the bats showed up. Buxton hit a home run. Jeffers hit a 3-run shot, but just like you said, it's just a weird night for the Twins.
Byron Buxton, by the way, had a home run on Sunday. Then one of his first 2 at-bats took a ball all the way to the warning track. I thought it was gone. And then the next at-bat sends one just about 20 feet further over the fence and then rips a double down the line. Buxton's obviously a very hot or cold player. I've just come to accept that. Mm-hmm. But right now he's hitting well, and I'm not going to critique anything. I'm just going to ride the high. What do you
Exactly. That's all you can do.
That's all you can do. All right. We could talk Twins for like another 20 minutes, but we got a couple other things that we need to get on the morning sports desk here as we record right now, like trying to get it done before the morning ends. It's almost noon here, but that's okay. It's okay. It's our first day back. We're getting our feet underneath us here. Mm-hmm. A couple draft notes. The Minnesota Timberwolves have the NBA draft tonight. They have pick number 27. So they're not going to pick for a while towards the end. Obviously there's no top players. The NBA draft is very weird. It's very top heavy. And then once you get to kind of the middle late part, it kind of loses a lot of steam very quickly. I hate the NBA draft for like players wearing the wrong hats. I really hate that because they're like, well, the trade doesn't become finalized and whatever. It's like the NFL can do it in like 5 seconds. Why are the NBA's rules so different? I don't like that. Other than you just get the weird picture of like Kristaps of Lauri Markkanen in the Wolves hat,
Oh yeah, or Kevin Love in the Grizzlies hat. Yeah,
right, exactly. It's just weird
things like that. Yeah,
like why Andrew Wiggins in the Cleveland Cavaliers hat? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Let's not do that. Trae Young and the Luka Doncic, excuse me, in the Atlanta Hawks hat or whatever.
Stuff. Yeah.
Why are we doing that? Don't do that. But what I know you have a take, or you have kind of a hope on who the Wolves should, or you want the Wolves to draft tonight. What's your take?
First off, the big headline in the NBA lately has been the impact of the international game and having guys like Wemby and Luka and Jokic come over and just dominate this league. I think tonight, for the first time ever, the top 2 picks going to be international players, and it'll be either Alexander Sarr, Zach Risacher, or the other way around, Atlanta and Washington, 1-2. Which it's weird that we don't have that college superstar like the defending player of the year, Zach Edey, 2-time defending national player of the year, is dropping in most mock drafts like pick 20,
right,
or something ridiculous like that. So it'll be a draft full of guys that we likely have not heard much of unless we're super into the NBA. Risacher and Sarr, both from France. And so we've seen the impact that Wemby's had, that Rudy Gobert has had on big French players. Sarr is a 7-1 center, and Risacher is a 6'10" forward. So we got those guys coming into the league. For me, if the Wolves don't take someone like Bronny James at 27, which they're not going to, this mock draft actually very wishful thinking that I'm looking at. Bronny James goes pick 56 to the LA Lakers so that LeBron can stay home and they can do all the family stuff there. The guy, the homer pick that I have is weird because when this guy declared for the draft a handful of months ago, I was like, he's not ready. He needs to go back to college. And now looking at the draft and seeing what's going to be available at specifically the guard position at pick 27, because I don't think that Jordan McLaughlin's coming back to the Wolves. I think they're going to let him explore free agency. You've got Mike Conley, who I love me some Mike Conley, but Mike Conley is a month younger than I am, and so likely his time in the NBA coming to an end. Hopefully, he's got a couple more years left. We're signed with the Wolves through at least next season. But the guy I want to see him bring in, kind of a homer pick here, is Cam Christie of the Minnesota Timberwolves, 6'6" guard. He's got size, he's got leadership, he's got some good athleticism. Not quite NBA ready, so it's not a guy you expect to come in at pick 27 and take over a starting spot right away. Bounce back and forth between Iowa, which I just found out Gabe Kelscher plays for the Iowa Wolves. I didn't know that Kelscher, former Gopher, was down there. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd like to see Cam Christie, kind of that local angle. He's not one of us. He's from Illinois, but he played his college ball. He came here. He committed to Minnesota, and I think it'd be cool to see him continue his career here with the Timberwolves at pick 27 tonight.
I think so. I'd be on board with it. I mean, he showed some flashes of being a really good three-point shooter, needs some time to kind of work out his game, but that's what going down to the G League is for in Iowa. And really, now I know a lot of people, if you don't follow the NBA draft very often, whoever the Wolves draft, they're going to go, can they help us? I mean, we just made the Western Conference Finals. Like, why aren't we getting a guy who can help us right now? The NBA draft just is not built like that. It's about
especially at pick 27. Yeah.
Right. It's a lot of, at the top of the draft, it's a lot of high talent guys, but they're young. So like that high talent isn't going to, like, look at Anthony Edwards. People say he hasn't even reached his full potential yet. And he got drafted 4 years ago now. Like, it takes a while for a player to develop. So you're not exactly drafting, if you're the Wolves, for this year's need. What you're drafting is, like we talked about with Conley, where's that exit plan? Who's that person behind him that in a couple of years when Conley's ready to hang him up, there's a guy ready to step in and kind of take that on? Who's a guy of, Kyle Anderson or Jordan McLaughlin, like some of these players where it's like, they're not going to be around forever, and if they're here for this year, well, next year we can let them go because we have these guys ready to take their spot. And with the Wolves team that has Ant, Cat, and Rudy on max contracts right now, you kind of need to figure out how to develop from within these role players. So that way, because you're not going to be able to spend money on free agents. You're going to have to figure out a way to draft and develop. And not that the Wolves haven't done that, but they're just going to need to kind of keep on that pace if they want to be able to keep this core together. So yeah, I mean, if you draft Christie, he's not going to play for the Wolves really this season at all. He'll be playing for the Iowa Wolves, but that's okay because in 2026 or 2027, you hope that he's coming on the floor and making a meaningful contribution for your team. The Wolves also have a pick in the second round. I think the draft is on 2 days now for some reason.
It might be. Hockey is for sure. That's on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the NBA draft is still 1 or 2.
I think they just switched it because, like, by the end of round 2, everybody's like, "This is such a long night. Like, why are we all like, let's go home." Also, the thing with the Wolves is, everybody says, "Well, hey, I thought they traded all those picks for Rudy Gobert." They did trade 4 first-round picks, but in the NBA, you can't trade consecutive first-round picks in years because if they did, teams would trade their next 6 first-round picks all in a row and completely mortgage their future. So the NBA, to kind of protect teams from themselves, says you can't do that. You have to do every other year. So the Wolves in odd numbered years do not have first round picks. The Wolves in even numbered years do have first round picks until the Rudy Gobert contract picks are gone. Very, very weird. NBA is fascinating, but every time I try to understand like mid-level exceptions and draft rules and everything, my head explodes. I just want to watch big guy
veterans
basketball.
minimums. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's all I want at the end of the day. Big guy, put ball and hoop. That's all I need.
All we want. Or Anthony Edwards.
Exactly. Or talented women's basketball player, put ball and hoop, because that's what the Lynx have been doing a lot of. Zeke, I know you're a big hockey guy, so you might want to hit me through the computer. Is Minnesota the state of basketball now?
Well, we know Florida's the state of hockey, right? That's officially been changed because I think the last 3 cups it was Tampa Bay, Florida. I don't know, something weird like that. Three of the last 5 at least have gone to Florida. Yeah, but we do have the PWHL championship in Minnesota. We'll take credit for that one. I think so. I think Minnesota is more of a basketball hotbed than people realize. People can dig on the Wolves for so long and you've never really had a good basketball team. Yeah, but when we do, we show up. We saw it in 2004. We saw it this year with the playoff, with the Wolves going deep into the playoffs here. And same with the Lynx. It's not the same Maya Moore, Lindsay Whalen, Rebecca Brunson, Simone Augustus teams that we've had. They had their 4 championships in 6 or 7 years or whatever, 4 and 8 or something. But now they've been rebuilding. Fee Collier, she's on the Olympic team for Team USA, and she helped lead her team to the Commissioner's Cup win last night, the first ever Commissioner's Cup for the Minnesota Lynx. I think in its 4th year now. It's the in-season tournament for the WNBA. I mean, and putting up 21 points and beating the number 1 team in the league in the New York Liberty last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to get to see them do that. First ever in-season tournament, which now that my team won it, I care about. I think that that's important, and it speaks to the franchise. And really, I think
Yes.
we should have a banner for that as
Hang the
well.
banner, right? Might as well.
Might as well. You know, you won the tournament. So overall, it's not just that they won the Commissioner's Cup, because the Lakers won the in-season tournament last year, and they got bounced in the first round pretty quickly by the Nuggets. But what it tells you in the WNBA is that this is a good Lynx team. They're 13-3. They're what are they, Zeke? The number one team in the Western Conference, number one team in the NBA. They got to be somewhere up.
They're one game behind New York for the league's top spot. Yeah,
right. And they just beat New York. So in my there's quantitative and qualitative, or whatever the words are. In my non-numbers response, well, good team beat the best team. That means they're the best team. That's all by the transitive property. There you go. Now I'm throwing math in here. They're the best team in the WNBA, and it's really, really fun to see. Obviously, Cheryl Reeve has been renowned for being a coach and a coach GM and developing all this talent. Now they threw some veterans in the mix, and they're really, really good. And the Target Center, again, like you see pictures or clips of games, it's packed. People have always supported the Lynx because they've won a lot. And like you talked about, this state just craves a good basketball team. I think even when the Gophers, men or women's, are good, people do show up.
They do.
10 years ago when the Gophers made the NCAA tournament like 3 times in 5 years, the barn was rocking. It was a fun place to be. And the same thing with Target Center this year. It's overall just really, really fun to get to see Minnesota sports in a good spot. And the Lynx, I know they kind of get as put as an afterthought sometimes. We talk about Minnesota sports not winning things, but they've won 4 championships, and it kind of feels like they're back to not building a dynasty, because that's a long way to go, but they're back to building a championship contender roster.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a lot of good teams at the top of the WNBA. Las Vegas is one of those teams, not really record wise this year. They're still trying to figure things out, but they got a lot of talent on that team. You look at the New York Liberty, and maybe you put the Minnesota Lynx at number 3 on that list, with Bridget Carlton, who had, I think, 6 3-pointers last night, led the Lynx in scoring with 23. B. Collier's having a great season. Diamond Miller, another one of those rotation players there. This is a good Lynx team, and they could make a deep playoff run this year.
It's really, really fun. A lot of great stuff, Zeke. Thanks for hopping on the morning sports desk today. Maybe we'll do this later in the week. I know we're going to try and golf tomorrow. So
we're going to try. Yeah.
I'm going to attempt to hit a ball off a tee. I have not. I got to maybe go home and work on my drives a little bit. It's going to be real embarrassing.
I golfed with Corey at Whitetail Run on Monday. So the bar is low. So we'll see if you can jump over the bar or not.
Oh, you'll be very underwhelmed.
Perfect. I'm all about the underwhelming sports.
This has been the morning sports desk for Wednesday, June 26th. Great to be back, everybody.